Welcome to the Global Focus Review channel. I'm sure you're familiar with the story of Moses, the Israelite leader who guided God's chosen people out of Egypt, liberating them from slavery. However, have you ever wondered about the identity of the Pharaoh during Moses' time? Who was the ruler mentioned in the book of Exodus, the one who defied and resisted the power of the God of Israel? In this video, I will address this topic. Please share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for the complete content. Many have questioned the identity of the renowned Pharaoh mentioned in the book of Exodus, the one who opposed God and stubbornly refused to release the Israelite slaves. The Bible, which extensively covers ancient Egypt, mentions various pharaohs, including the founder of the ancient Egyptian empire. It also refers to different pharaohs in various contexts, such as during the time of Joseph, Abraham, and particularly Moses. There is a common inclination to associate the Pharaoh of Moses' time with the famous Ramses II, a figure well known due to movies and series. However, this identification is incorrect primarily due to chronological reasons. According to biblical chronology, it is impossible for Ramses II to be the Pharaoh of the book of Exodus. Therefore, by exploring and comprehending the true identity of the Pharaoh in this historical context, we can gain a more accurate perspective on the events described in the Bible. The Pharaoh who confronted Moses and Aaron is the subject of a significant archaeological discovery that challenges the notion of Ramses being the Pharaoh of Moses' time. This interpretation is proven incorrect for several reasons, mainly because Ramses did not engage in a battle or war against slaves or servants of Semitic origin. Furthermore, during the time of Ramses II, there were not as many Semites as commonly believed. An important clarification arises from the discovery of the Manpa Stele, a historical artifact that reveals a significant war led by Pharaoh Manpa into the land of Canaan. Manpa faced various Canaanite peoples, and notably, the stele mentions Israel as a constituted nation, an organized society, rather than just a group of slaves or a nomadic people. This piece of evidence contradicts the notion that the Israelites were merely a disorganized group. It is important to emphasize that the dating of the Manpa Stele traces back to 1207 BC, which is 3,270 years before the birth of Christ. This highlights the complexity and ancient nature of the historical events in question. By this time, the Israelites had already settled in the land of Canaan, established stability, and spent over 40 years in the desert. During this period, they encountered the Canaanite people and conquered their lands. The markers indicating the territory of the Israelites in Canaan suggest that the time of Moses must have occurred at least 150 years before the reign of Manpa. This conclusion is based on the need for a significant amount of time for the Israelites to establish and solidify themselves in Canaan before Manpa entered Egypt and confronted them as an already formed group. This evidence contradicts the idea that Ramses II would be the Pharaoh mentioned in the book of Exodus. Instead, it suggests that the Pharaoh during Moses' time was Thutmose III, also known as Thutmose Thosis or Thosis III. Thutmose was an ancient Egyptian pharaoh from the 18th dynasty, reigning from approximately 1479 to 1425 BC. He is often referred to as the Napoleon of Egypt due to his military prowess and the extent of his empire. Thutmose is considered one of the greatest pharaohs of ancient Egypt and is renowned for his successful military campaigns. He ascended to the throne following the death of his stepmother, Queen Hatshepsut, who was one of the few women to rule Egypt as a pharaoh. Thutmose began his career as a general in the army and eventually rose to power in 1479 BC after Hatshepsut's demise. Initially, his authority was restricted by his stepmother's advisors, but he gradually consolidated his power and initiated a series of military campaigns that would shape his legacy. One of Thutmose's most famous military campaigns was the Battle of Megiddo, which took place around 1457 before Christ. This particular conflict holds significance as it is one of the earliest recorded battles in history. 3 individuals meticulously documented it by inscribing the details on the walls of the Temple of Karnak. The triumph at Megiddo greatly expanded the Egyptian Empire, granting those 3 individuals control over a substantial portion of the Levant region. Alongside their military conquests, they actively contributed to various construction projects, including temples and monuments. They were also devout followers of multiple Egyptian deities and regularly engaged in religious practices during their reign. Ongoing archaeological research and historical evidence continually provide insights into the events and personalities of ancient times, allowing for a more precise understanding of biblical eras. Pharaoh Thutmose III emerges as a potential central figure in the Book of Exodus, the pharaoh who confronted Moses and God. It is intriguing to delve into the meaning of the name Thutmose, which in Egyptian signifies born of Theth or son of Theth, referencing an ancient Egyptian deity. It is fascinating to note the phonetic similarity between the beginning of Thutmose's name and the name Moses. In the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt, Moses is frequently identified as a common phonetic patronymic, reflecting the naming conventions of that era. Regarding the meaning of the name Moses, it is crucial to emphasize its Egyptian origin rather than Hebrew or Phoenician. Contrary to popular misconceptions, the pharaoh's daughter bestowed an Egyptian name upon the baby when she discovered the Israelite child in a basket along the banks of the Nile River. Thus, the name Moses was given by the pharaoh's daughter and became associated with the child. The name Moses is pronounced as Masi in the ancient Aramaic language. These insights into language and culture provide a deeper understanding of the historical figure of Moses in the ancient Egyptian context. Choosing names in ancient Egypt was a significant process, carrying cultural, religious, and social significance. The Egyptians believed that a person's name was an essential part of their identity and had a direct impact on their life, both in the present and after death. The first name, known as the given name, was often selected based on specific circumstances such as birth conditions, important events, or desired characteristics for the child. This name was often associated with deities or notable events. In the ancient Hebrew and Phoenician versions, the name Moses is Moshe, which carries the same meaning of being drawn from the waters or son of the waters. It's worth noting the similarity between the endings Cs and Rames and Es in Moses, both indicating son of. This parallel suggests a possible linguistic and meaningful connection between the two names. The C's ending, meaning son of, leads us to consider the hypothesis that Moses's original name might have been altered due to influences from Egyptian paganism. It is likely that the pharaoh's daughter chose the name Moses in reference to a deity associated with the Nile River, considering that the child was found in the river's waters. Regarding chronology, it is suggested that the time of Moses is more accurately around 1500s BCE or 1480 BCE, rather than 1200s BCE. In this temporal context, the story of Moses and his leadership in liberating the people of Israel with the power of God would have taken place. This discussion on chronology highlights the complexity and the need for careful analysis of historical evidence. Various pieces of evidence, including the location of the tomb of Thutmose, corroborate the truthfulness of the biblical account in the book of Exodus, particularly when examining the tomb of Pharaoh Thutmose III. The tomb mentions a great flood associated with the event of the Red Sea crossing. Interestingly, this account describes the passage of a large crowd through the waters. In the tomb of Thutmose, we do not find his body or mummy, but rather that of a person much younger than him. Biblical archaeology has also uncovered discoveries such as chariot wheel axles of the pharaoh, along with various other artifacts. These pieces of evidence contribute to the authenticity of sacred scriptures, supporting events like the crossing of the Red Sea. It is noteworthy that the tomb of Thutmose III suggests not only the occurrence of the flood, but also the potential tragedy involving the pharaoh himself, whose fate was sealed in the Red Sea. We appreciate everyone who has followed the video up to this point. Please share your comments if you were familiar with the Pharaoh of Moses' time, and send us suggestions on other scriptural topics you'd like to see a video on. God bless you.